All right, well, the good old Eclipse broke down on me the other day. And by the other day, I mean the other month. You can see how dusty it is. What happened is all of a sudden this spark plug was sitting up here by the manifold. And you can see where the manifold's all dirty from it pushing oil out of there. But I saw on the threads were fine on the spark plug. And so I was hoping it had just worked its way out of there. And sure enough, it had. I replaced these probably about 5 years ago when I really wasn't much of a mechanic, so I must have not tightened them down right. So I was lucky there, but while I've got it apart, let me just show you real quick the bare minimum you've got to do to get this manifold just up and out of the way to replace these 3 spark plugs. So you've got all these, a lot of this is for your EGR right here, and so you've got all these vacuum lines that run from these guys. So you got to disconnect all these vacuum lines here, this vacuum line back here. The easiest way for these is it's got 3 bolts here, here, and here that run on this plate. So all that can come off an assembly. You don't have to mess with connectors. Same thing with this little bolt right here. This guy, you just take that bolt off, it comes off. And then you've got, on mine, the ground, I'm not sure if this was stock. I know how to mess with it once. The ground was using the bolt for the throttle plate. The throttle cable comes in right here. And so my ground cable was using that bolt. So I had to take that off. And then that's it for this side. And then if we come back on this side, let me get this down real quick. So on this side, you've got a few things disconnect here. You've got this little connector that bolts on right here. So that connector goes right there. Again, you just pull the bolt off and this whole thing comes out. I disconnected it as well. You probably don't need to. And then you got this little guy right here that, if I can pull it out here, runs this little vacuum line that goes up to the top there. So you've got to take that bolt off so that separates. Then that vacuum line comes out. And then there's another vacuum line right here. I also forgot to mention, you've got to disconnect this ground right here. It's extremely important you remember to put that back on because it's the ground for the cam and the crank. You won't run without that. And then this little guy, this little push pin guy, you just squeeze down on that and that comes out. And the only other part, I guess you've got this electrical connector up here on the top. This guy right here that has the little spring pin in it, that comes out. And then you've got the bolts on the front. You've got 1, 2, 3, 2 up top, 4, 5, and then over there. And then the hard part, well, I wouldn't even call it hard, is you've got 3 bolts in the back. So you've got that bolt right there that goes into the manifold, this bolt right here that goes in the manifold, and then one more over by the throttle body. They're all 12 millimeters. I get back there with, I didn't have my 1/4 inch 12 millimeter bolts, so I just got back there with my Harbor Freight wrench. It allows to sneak back there. And once you get those 3 off, the manifold bolts off, you just kind of pry up on it with a pry bar and it should come right up. And so that's the bare minimum. It took me probably, maybe 30 minutes just to disconnect all that. And then I was in, and then you can kind of just prop this up out of the way and you can get to your 3 spark plugs there. And it's not too bad. So that's the simplest and easiest way that I've found to do it. And hopefully I should be up and running again now. And I've got my car back, save on gas. So glad to have it back.